we are moving on to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Before we talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows, didn't realize Ubisoft will reportedly fight for Assassin's Creed Shadows anti-harassment plan, which is in place. Okay, this doesn't make any sense. Any form of harassment towards attacking developers, actresses, or voice actors, you know, like The Last of Us 2, if there were people actually attacking, like the actress of Abby Zilla, you're stupid. Why would you do death threats? You've got unhinged people that will do that. In terms of criticizing the game, that's different. They had a robust plan that was presented to the Communications Security Establishment, Canada's National Cryptologic Agency. An elected official said it's an initiative from Canada. There's a team that monitors networks and acts quickly in the event of a targeted attack. The scale was unlike anything we've had. This is serious. Really? Listen, it is stupid if people are doing this. The way it will work is they will look something like this. Internet users on X or even on YouTube, it will be closely monitored by a dedicated unit in order to respond quickly to the slightest problem. Lawyers are already ready to file complaints in the event of proven harassment. Now, this is the problem. This is crazy. So what if someone says, listen, you go on YouTube, this Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's hilarious, some of the memes and this. Does that class as harassment? It's sitting at an 81. I only look at independent YouTubers. When you look at like the Dragon Age, the Vilgard, when you looked at how many high scores it was getting, I've seen a lot of reviews like this as well, when they're like, it brings it back. You know, like the Dragon Age Vilgard, it brings it back to form, brings it back. Assassin's Creed Shadow brings back the franchise's fun with an engaging adventure in Japan, standing out in its rich narrative. Now, I've heard most people have said that the narrative is just so bland. This is the current player count on Steam. So you're looking at around 41,000. What I wanted to compare this to was, say, for instance, Red Dead 2 Steam. There's 45,000 currently playing the game, which is nuts when you look at it. Obviously, it hasn't reached the peak of, obviously, look at Red Dead. Wow, an all-time peak of 100,000 players. Compare it to Odyssey. Yeah, let's compare it to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This had a peak of 61,000 and
yeah, buddy.
You got 7,000 currently playing. Obviously, this had an all-time peak of 61,000. So when you think about it, will this rise? I'm assuming it will, because we are going into the weekend. Really, we have to check this next week to see where this game is, because obviously more people at the weekend will have free time. It's already gone down by 100 players. Oh, let's look at Assassin's. So this, when did this come out straight away on PC? Flipping out, it only had a peak of 15,000. This made like $1 billion. Obviously, most people were probably playing on console. Joe Raptor, he loves the Assassin's Creed games. He loves them. I figured it would be good to have a look at this. I want to just see this review, and I wanted to see one. I don't want to see IGN, but I want to see what he thinks.
Shadows is the best feeling Assassin's Creed at launch ever. The speed of Naoe, how she moves through the world, takes out enemies. You very quickly feel like a pro. It's really one of the key ingredients that makes Shadows so addicting. Because that's the game's biggest strength, constantly teasing you with future activities that have more powerful.
Now, obviously, before we carry on, just to let you know, I haven't played the game, so I'm just looking at some reviews. I will be playing it eventually, so I'm just kind of, I don't really have an opinion, unless I saw some of the dialogue and stuff like that. But can't really give my opinion on the game without playing it.
Powerful unlocks tied to them, so you're always excited to keep playing. The game never feels overwhelming because all these singular objectives only cost a few minutes of your time, and everything you do builds towards a more advanced shinobi or samurai. I love the player-first decisions, like not having stamina so you can run indefinitely and always feel strong during combat. It makes Shadows feel like a warm bath, a relaxing experience that you want to return to every day. And potentially for a long time, because so far I'm optimistic about the new post-launch systems that they have in place. Now, this all does not mean that Shadows is perfect. Even with the 2 delays, I still run into bugs quite often.
Oh, so there is quite bugs?
Me from progressing.
Okay, so there is still some bugs in the game. Yeah, I did listen to, what's his name? Baldino. Yeah, I listened to his video on his personal channel and also the Gamer Ranks review. That was a bit more like, he was harsh. And he's never really harsh on game reviews for a start, so you know he didn't like it. So the problem is does it feel just samey?
Progressing a certain quest line, so I'm locked out of getting a new ally. But it's for me mostly that this game lacks some key elements that made the previous RPG games so memorable. But I will not be touching on everything because I want you to experience this game fresh.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
no story spoilers in this video whatsoever, but I will at the end of the video share my overall non-spoiler thoughts on the narrative for if you are interested. Now, I want to make one thing clear.
For me, from the get-go, I don't think this story is going to be any good. I don't think it's going to be... I don't... like. Even when we saw the reviews, it wasn't like, oh, wow, I can't wait for this story. But let's see.
Clear, and that's that Assassin's Creed Shadows delivers on what Ubisoft promised. You
Okay.
already see it. The world is absolutely beautiful. Valhalla lacked that excitement of going to a new place for the first time because the world all felt very similar, but in Shadows you're constantly curious where your journey will take you next. The fact that they focused on a smaller part of Japan but made that closer to the real life size has paid off really well. While at first I was quite annoyed by the lack of an auto-run feature on your mount, I now actually appreciate this decision. It will let you be way more immersed in the world. It let me appreciate the new wind tech even more, that lets everything around you move. Leaves fly across the screen, forests feel dense now, you cannot see beyond the trees. It really feels like you're playing a next-gen Assassin's Creed. And this was the case on all the platforms I tested on, by the way. I started through GeForce Now on PC and then switched to PS5 Pro. And I also played a bit on the regular PS5, both in the performance mode. And if you put the two side to side, you do notice that thanks to the improved ray tracing and lighting, on the Pro you get a more realistic image. But
well, you can tell a little bit, but not too much on a YouTube. Yeah, no, Jake was wicked. His review was his review was not good because he was trying to be balanced. He was trying to be positive, but at the same time, he was, just didn't hit.
But again, if you're just playing on PS5, you will not notice this. The seasons are also really impressive, with winter being the clear winner. It's kind of crazy how instead of just some regions always having snow, now the full map will turn white. This also means that you're sometimes slowed down by deep snow in areas where you could first sprint. You also cannot run on frozen ponds. The icicles on roofs can alert enemies, but those are really the only noticeable seasonal things that impact the moment-to-moment gameplay. But it is cool that the whole seasonal thing is also a crucial part of the gameplay loop, because when the season changes after 2.5 hours of playtime, the vendors will have restocked, so there are new items to check out. Your wanted status, if you had one, will be reset. New contracts and rumors will be available.
I saw he was levitating. Look at he's levitating.
Contract and rumors will be available in your region, and you will also have new resources to spend to further improve your hideout. And I'm, by the way, really happy that the hideout is not a core part of the game like the settlement was in Valhalla. It will not take long before you unlock most of the main buildings for the core features and some of the themed rooms that give you some nice buffs. After that, you can mostly leave the hideout alone. Now, of course, if you want to go crazy with the new Sims-style systems, build your own little village, that is certainly possible. You will constantly find new hideout prompts while exploring, and you can buy them at vendors as well to put them anywhere you want in your hideout. Now, it is worth noting though that on console the frame rate can drop down significantly in the hideout, even when playing on the performance mode. I'm in particular curious how this is gonna work on the Series S, but on the Pro and the regular PS5, you will go down to like 30 or even lower.
Yeah, there's like a village builder as well in the game, which is pretty cool that they've added this. It's like the Like a Dragon. Is it like a Dragon, the one before, where they had like a whole? I know they've got them in those games, but it's a cool feature to have. I like the settlement in Valhalla. I just wish there was more customizable things you could do. But Yeah, I'm going to see by the end of this. Am I looking forward to
in
playing
some
this?
instances. But because the hideout is more in the background this time, it does mean the whole growing the league feeling that they wanted to go for did not work for me. Most characters that will join your settlement are tied to completing side missions that I mostly did after completing the main story, so I had kind of an empty hideout for the majority of my playthrough. And by the way, if you like the video so far, totally leave a like and a subscribe for way more Assassin's Creed Shadows content like this. But yeah, the only reason to visit your hideout after the initial upgrades is for the blacksmith to improve your gear and weapons. And it's totally the biggest improvement over Valhalla. Because almost everything you find and loot in this game can have an impact on the way you play. I remember in Valhalla I was using the same armor set for the first 20 hours with no reason to switch. In Shadows I'm already making a bleed build very early on where I quickly apply the powerful status effect. Thanks to the random loot system in Shadows, you are constantly changing your look and there are some really cool pieces of equipment to find. But it's in particular exciting when you get a new legendary armor piece or weapon, because the perk on those can have a huge impact on your playstyle, like triggering a powerful slow time effect or instantly charging your bow. And it's cool that you can already get quite some legendary gear early on. You feel instantly rewarded. You know that, okay, if I take the time to kill all these powerful samurai daisho enemies in a military castle, I will get something useful. You can also once again stumble upon legendary chests while exploring, and I'm actually happy with the change to 2 armor pieces, because it really means that when you find gear, it's instantly satisfying. The addicting nature also comes from the new take on targets in this game, instead of only having a list of the order and temple.
You know what's crazy? I'm just thinking, I know he's probably going to get to the story of this review, but I'm like, you still haven't like said about the story. I know he's going to come to it, but like when you look at like Ghost of Tsushima, like the story is like the biggest part of the game in terms of how gripping it is. And at the minute, it's like, where's the motivation to invest your time in the story? It's crazy. Like that's my thing at the minute, because at the minute it's come out, we've had all these trailers, and at the minute I'm like, so who cares? But let's carry on.
Templar targets, you will now be going after many different factions. And I was surprised by how often my objective board would fill with a new round of targets, even very late into the game. And some of these are also narrative quests as well, instead of the just go and assassinate this enemy. And it's cool that these targets are not just defenseless NPCs that have bodyguards. No, you're very often fighting mini-bosses. And also here are rewarded with powerful loot, lots of XP and mastery points.
There's so many loot. You get loot, you get loot, you get loot.
Spent on skills. Going after all the targets in the ring even is required for some of the late game unlocks. Again, everything feels rewarding in this game, and I love how they integrated the orange non-combat activities as well to give you access to brand new lines in a skill tree. So only leveling up is not enough this time. You also have to explore and look for these shrines, archery challenges and other mini games in order to fully improve your character. Now sure, they're not the most exciting things individually, but together and combined with the painting of animals, they do help put a larger emphasis on the non-combat activities. And it works really well with the peaceful landscapes of Japan. Now
that looks cool. The graphics look amazing.
Of course, you will still be mostly sneaking or fighting in this game, and for me, constantly switching between Naue and Yasuke felt like the best way to go. It's really cool to see the contrast. Switching back to Naue feels like you're playing the game at 2 times speed after stomping your enemies with the heavier but tankier Yasuke. There are still some head-scratching moments where in an area with Yasuke exclusive missions, you get to a viewpoint that you cannot reach, so you...
That is so dumb. That is so dumb. I know your Raptor loves Assassin's Creed, so his reviews are going to be more generous to them. But like stuff like that, it sounds like what I've seen so far, not just this review, but it's like, why is Yasuke even there? Like he's basically, you can't do much. You can do more with Naue. She's like quicker, she's more stealth, she's much more like an assassin. And he's just like, you can't even climb with him on top of the damn thing to get the viewpoint. And they've cut a lot of his stuff out, which is just crazy, but it just makes no sense.
So you are forced to switch to Naue. But you do actually learn to adapt and know that, okay, a large pagoda without the stairs can only be climbed with Nawe, and I should probably do the lost pages with Nawe as well, while the other things can mostly be reached by both characters. So yes, you can play most of the content with either Nawe or Yasuke, but the system is far from perfect, because the two cannot fight alongside each other at the same time. So sometimes you will show up at the final boss together, you get to pick who you play, and then the other character just disappears and comes back after the boss is defeated.
So that makes no sense. That's weird. Okay.
Also, if you play one part of a main quest with Yasuke and then switch to Nawe, the NPCs will not react to that. So they will just continue the conversation with Nawe, even though you did the first part of the mission with Yasuke, and the NPC you're talking to right now never met Nawe before. So this
that's stupid. So basically, they'll carry on the conversation if you switch. Okay.
System feels more like an evolution of what we saw with male and female Eivor instead of something closer to Syndicate. But these awkward narrative moments are worth it, because being able to control two completely different characters does combat the biggest pitfall of these Assassin's Creed RPGs, namely that they can become repetitive. Now and Yasuke already have more depth individually if you compare them to the previous main game protagonists, so now we get to learn both of them, constantly unlock more powerful upgrades. It really keeps things fresh. That's why it hurts that there are only a handful of finishers. You will have seen all of them in the first few hours, so after 50, 60, 80 hours. I really hope they add more over time. Also, the enemy variety is not that great. I miss the unpredictable animals. They would have been great.
Oh, mate, no animals. Literally no animals as well. That's the one thing I loved about Odyssey, was the animals.
To make that more dangerous. Now it can...
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm looking at the combat, and it's just so... Like, the way I love Tsushima, because, you know, it's so much more realistic in terms of... It's, you know, you haven't got these energy bars and health bars above the enemy's head. That guy, yeah, like you said, the guy took like 17 arrows to their head.
It can often feel empty between points of interest. I do respect the amount of humanoid enemies, and they do save some archetypes for much later into the game, but the problem is that they are still just humans.
Listen, he likes Assassin's Creed, but at the minute it sounds like he's a bit disappointed with this game.
Ubisoft has not applied enough creative ideas to make them feel different. And this in particular makes the boss fights, especially during the main story, very lackluster. Most bosses share moves with archetypes you've already fought.
I never thought I would hear it from this guy. I never thought he would, I thought he would love this game. Like, I thought he would absolutely love it.
Countless of times before without adding any new interesting attacks that has you alter your playstyle. I switched to the expert difficulty halfway through the game, and I still had no issue with any of these fights. It's mostly thanks to the balance, with some abilities and moves being way stronger than others, and just the lack of surprising attacks from these bosses themselves. It made the fights way less memorable. Now maybe that changes post-launch. The enemies hub system they got in place makes me hope.
Mate, that fight was... Mate, are you supposed to be some... That fight was pretty bad there from him. Did you see that fight? Did you see that throw from him? You're supposed to be an expert soldier.
The enemies
Look at this. Look at this.
System they got in place makes me hopeful for what they have planned, as they now put way more effort into the weekly missions that you can do to earn some free rewards.
Weekly missions? Who wants to do that?
You will actually see a glitch in the enemies when you are close, and then have to take out a particular target or loot a specific chest. It's way better than the uninspired Reda missions that we had before. The game is also in a way better state than Valhalla was at launch, so they don't have to focus all their efforts on fixing the game first before pushing out new content.
The fact that we're talking about that is crazy.
Although again, there are still quite some annoying bugs. Sometimes you cannot prone through a small area, or while prone you cannot leave, so you're stuck. Again, I cannot pick this ally up during this mission, so
oh my god, there's still bugs in the damn game.
And unlock her. Sometimes health bars are bugged out, or enemies will not get into combat, or contracts are linked to killing a civilian who you cannot kill because then you get desynchronized. So still lots of work to be done, but it's certainly much better than in Valhalla. So now...
Nah, that's no excuse. There's no excuse for there being bugs like this and there's still problems.
My spoiler-free thoughts on the narrative, but I get it if you don't want to hear anything. Then I will say goodbye, enjoy the game, and of course check out all the content that we have planned for you. So subscribe to not miss anything if you haven't already. So I really like the opening and the flashback scenes for both Naue and Yasuke. Their background story is great. I really love these missions, but it overall never really went anywhere for me during the main narrative. I also think they should not have done choices in the main campaign, because they, for one, don't matter. And it's even worse because they, for example, say, hey, do you want to kill this character? Then you say, okay, I want to kill this character, and then the game still does not kill the character. So there are multiple moments where they give the illusion of a choice, and that does not work for me. So I would not say that the narrative is bad. I love how they give more story and context to all the targets you go after, but I do think it's the weakest part for me for the game. Even though there are some great characters, it in the end did not deliver overall for me. Going back to a Valhalla comparison, I would say that the game does not have the lows of Valhalla for me in terms of story, but it also never reaches those highs. Like
there's some big highs in Valhalla.
Payoffs that you do get in Valhalla. While Shadows overall, I think, improves upon almost everything that Valhalla did, so I would still say it's a really awesome game. But again, the narrative is the weakest part, I think. I'm curious to hear what you think. Of course, got more questions, drop them down below. Subscribe to not miss any of the
Wow. Now listen, I know, when I do play this game, I'm going to give my honest thoughts. I'm going to play it, see if I can have some fun with it, because that's literally what you want to do. Is have some fun. The weak story. And I literally said this and I had this feeling. I was like, okay, the world building, the graphics, it looks amazing. It looks beautiful. It's in Japan. But I was like, the story's not really like, what's the story? You know, when you think of like Ghost of Tsushima, even Rise of the Ronin, like the story, you're like, wow, okay, this story is gripping me. Sounds like Rise of the Ronin has a much better storyline than this. If you're looking forward to playing it, wicked. Despite what I think, some of you will know me. Even if someone says it's bad or good, I would love to give it my own thoughts. I'll play it. Can I have fun with that game? Judging by those reviews I've seen, there's no way I would want to pay like £70 for this game.